Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. My name is Nichel Anderson. I'm your host for my podcast show, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is my director clip notes episode where I focus on previous episodes that I released and have a discussion about the notes to when I created the episode. I talk about different things that I revealed and maybe some things I didn't reveal and the reason why. So thank you so much for joining me today. Now, this particular podcast, if you're new to joining me today, is focused mainly on MOLIAE. MOLIAE is based on my book, Mitsrayim, that I wrote many years ago. My very first manuscript that brought me into the realm of writing, that I do enjoy doing that. This particular podcast, I have two podcasts actually. The other one is a more conversational type part, helping those right on our life journey to succeed and to move forward. And that's surviving your journey towards success. This particular podcast focuses on my love of telling stories and influencing people, informing people, and entertaining as well. I really enjoy it. And Mitsrayim is based on, like I said, this particular podcast is based on Mitsrayim. And right now I'm in the process of prepping for the prestige return of MOLIAE Stageplay. It's a theatrical production. So I took the book and created a theatrical outlet from that. And that was in stage and in plays and a short film. I have not done a feature film yet. That's my next goal. But at any rate, right now that production is in the middle of preparing for the return. And so it's in the middle of that. So I'm very excited. It's going to be a bigger production. I will announce those dates when it happens. When it's about to happen, I should say, those one dates. So stay tuned for that. And I know some people has been following me for a while and waiting for those dates. This is taking more investment into all the things I want to roll out. It's not just going to be a play because it's a bigger production. It's going to be other things with the brand and so forth, and bringing it all together, making it all. Because once you say you're live, going to stage, it's on. The clock starts. You got to make sure you have all the things you want to do. And I'm rolling out other things, other elements with MOLIAE. And I have some apps, right? And some of the apps are being revamped, so you might not be able to get all of them that I wrote out. I had 4, but you should be able to get the app for this podcast, Nichel Anderson Short Stories and Beyond, at the Apple Store. I think you can only get it on your iPhone and not a Mac. I'm learning. That's what I'm learning. But at any rate, going forward, hopefully that could be updated on that. But you can now get the app on Google Play. This podcast, MOLIAE website, you should be able to get that at the Apple Store. I am revamping that. You're not able to get it on Google Play right now because, like I said, I'm in the process of changing some things. And the other 2 apps, if you've been following me and you was looking for them, they are back in the planning stage. I want to change some things on that. So once I roll those out, you'll get that. And that's talking about my other podcast as well as my official website. But for right now, this podcast show, you should be able to get the app at the Apple Store. All right. So let's talk about Director Clip Notes episode 7, episode 38. We're going to focus on those that I did. This is the season 2. And just to give you a quick highlight, what's going to happen for this week. Episode 37 focused on Sisters of the Sudan. I had a guest speaker on that. And then episode 38 dealt with titled King Mahlon Rise to Akun Royal. Going to focus on those things, talk about, and that particular episode, but both of them, 37 and 38, I got a lot. My stats rose, especially on Facebook, for King Mahlon Rise to Akun Royal. I know people was digging that. I have to say, it really got a lot of engagement in that, in the sense that people liked it and showed it that they liked it. Some high numbers on that when I looked at my stats, so that's a good thing. So let's go ahead and get started with the first episode, right? So my director notes on this one, really enjoyed this. I had a special guest, Consuela. She was there. I worked with her on my film Dawn of New Day with W.B. Du Bois. That's how I met her as an actress. Right now she actually is a realtor. She's in real estate. She's also a professional actress. She helped me with the MOLIAE audio book that would not be released out until I do the stage play, return back to the prestige return of MOLIAE. And yeah, because I'm releasing an audio book of the stage play. And so those are one of the things that I'm working on before I go back to stage, you see. So I have been busy. I haven't been put to the side. I've been working to try to get all the things I want to roll out when I go to stage for the 3rd time. But yeah, so she helped me with that. So she's the guest speaker of this episode. So it was very popular. I did see a lot of people downloading the podcast. It was very popular. So in this particular one, just to jump right into this, you have Queen Hagar and her sister Queen Mammy. Now Queen Mammy was in my book. She was in my book in Mitsrayim, and she deals with the area that we call Ethiopia now. And at that particular time, she's married to King Sapa. They are mentioned in my book. And this particular time period is we're dealing with the podcast before Princess Amelia is on the scene, which is before get to the stage play. But Queen Mammy comes to see how Queen Hagar is doing. Their parents is already there, right? And they have a conversation, sister to sister. And they seem to be close in age somewhat. Queen Hagar might be a bit older than Queen Mammy, but they get along fine. And Queen Mammy started off the episode, it's very good. She said, "Your unspoken words are revealing more than recent return of your true love, King Mahlon, my sister." So this is a great episode. It's similar to when Queen Hagar had an episode with her mother. That was in season 1, and where she's sensing that her sister needs some type of release of the pressure. So we don't really know all the history with Queen Hagar and the Orions, but we definitely know it has been a lot of challenges, a lot of painful experiences that she struggled with and continue to struggle with because they won't let it go, okay? They just constantly disrupting her life, giving her this emotional disruption that she has to continue to manage as a ruler. You got to hold your stuff together in that role. And at any rate, so you see Queen Mammy as a ruler of herself is comforting and finding out what's going on. And Queen Hagar is kind of hesitant at much. I really like this because you show the conversation that people need. I think in humanity, the greatest pain and hurt is when we don't talk about it. So therefore, we hold on to the pain instead of releasing it. And sometimes it's not ready to be released. And you see this interaction between these two people that are connected, not only by being in the family, but by the pressure of being a ruler where you have to manage holding it together as well as mourn when you want to. So Queen Hagar said something in return. She said that in this episode, she mentioned there are so many emotions from King Mahlon return, and she kept was going on when Queen Mammy interceded and said the unknown of who are or might be still hiding in the midst to do harm to him. If you remember in episode 42 in December of 2018, the last episode of MOLIAE, when I talk about when love was divine, you do notice where it's painful that he came back and we went through all that, going through getting rid of Echo and all that, and then now he has to go back out. And so you have the feeling of that you don't want any more painful experiences. You worry about the person because you care about the person, you love the person, and so you got to manage all those emotions. So that's where that come from. So in this episode, I would definitely highly recommend to check it out. It's nice to kind of peek in. And it's funny, I'm thinking of this, that I had a review of my book and someone had wrote, and it was so funny on this review, this person said they were like a fly on a wall listening in to what was going on in the book. So it's kind of interesting. It was nice. Whoever wrote that, thank you. It makes me feel good that you got something from the book and you enjoyed and you were entertained. And this way, when I do my director notes, I am being entertained too, because when I'm writing, I'm just writing, I'm putting it together, and I have to move on to the next. But my director clips also soothes me. It also feeds me to go back and look and to enjoy the experience. And this episode helps you to do that, to listen into their conversation, to know more about not only their bond as being related, but the understanding of the high responsibility you have to maintain your emotions when you're in this leadership role, where you still care about your mate, right? Get to that feel of that. And Queen Mammy, her sister, was saying, I understand how you're feeling, especially in the sense she said this, and with the new in you, there are heightened emotions to balance for the Ka. Ka is more of a spiritual type reference there, but acknowledging the new in Queen Hagar, which is the baby, which I haven't confirmed that's Princess Amina, because in the book she does have a son later on. But at any rate, so you get to listen into this. And then Queen Hagar said at one point in the episode, she she said, "It is these moments that ease my thoughts for what is to come and not of the before. It is painful still." So again, I think this episode overall, when I look at my notes, wanted me to kind of introduce another element of her family. I did pick up, I'm now doing the podcast, that she does have some brothers. Queen Memi came in really strong when I wrote the book. She will be part of the prestige return of the MOLIAE stage play when that's about to roll out in the future. So she will be in the stage play, her sister. This episode has allowed me to kind of highlight the challenges that we all go through, not only as women, but in a relationship, nonetheless, if you're a male perspective of how we talk it out and express ourselves to get to the healing and understanding. There's one part in this episode where it's Queen Mimi and she's still observing her sister and trying to offer her support. And Queen Hagar just opened up to her and said that, "I went to see Rulin about the rising influence of the tribal leaders unknown to a few against Mahlon before the war." That's the episode I highly recommend. Check out. It was in 2018, season 1. I think Queen Hagar remembers the before, something like that. And she went to go see Rulin, and that's when Queen Mehmed, she knows Rulin, and she said, "How did Rulin take your royal visit? The same as we talked?" So something's going on that she knows that Rulin still have an attachment to Queen Hagar. I haven't delved into the history of them, but just to kind of highlight that Queen Hagar at the end of all of that chose Mahlon, but she felt that Rulin know some things that could help the royal family and for him to do the right thing. So you kind of get a hint of that history and the complexity of all of that tied in. All right. So Rulin is someone that definitely has turned back into MOLIAE and will going in the future. So it's someone that just take a notice of that. And for her to bring it up to her sister gives you a clue that there's some history there and some conflict that can pose a problem. So I highly recommend this episode. It's very, very interesting, and hopefully you can like it as well. Now there is a clip snippet that I did, a reveal that I did at the end. It's already a clip snippet, and I wrote it as this. After I talked about Queen Memi and Queen Hagar, their interaction in that scene, I went into another part of the overall episode dealing with something else that got cut off. You had to get the full part of that. You have to become a Patron member. But just to give you an idea, I talked about saying that meanwhile, in the outskirts of Elohun, it is those closest to Enlil and Nagar, their secret spies within the region of Orion, seeing movement of forces out of the ordinary. So when we talk about Enlil and Nagar, they were a part of my book. They will be a part, at least Enlil, I know for sure, of the prestige return of MOLIAE stage play. You see, I keep going back to that. So when I announce it, you got to be there, okay? When I do that stage play, okay? But at any rate, so you see that they are being notified about something going on in the Orion skies, and we know Hani, and we know Lanko, what have you, and Echo was removed. So, and then we have Natu. He's just a rebel, like he ain't nobody business. But I go into that, and so that gives you more information on what's going outside of the realm of Tamat, and Tamat, of course, is what we call Earth now. All right, so that overall is a very good episode, so I highly recommend for you to check that out. Let's go ahead and now move to episode 38. Episode 38 is when King Mahlon rise to Akun rule. This is a very, very good episode, and this episode deals with Ezra, the elder Tahib. Tahib is the father of Queen Hagar, and I wrote this because I felt that after King Mahlon got well, after he were able to confront Echo and remove him from the center main stage, right? He needed to go back and reaffirm, in a sense, his position of being the designated leader of Mitsrayim. Mitsrayim is ancient Egypt, what we say ancient Kemet, and it's the center of what we call Tamat, planet Earth. And how I feel it's a leadership role amongst the realm of what we call esteem of prestige and a power and knowledge. And so to do that is to reinforce that he wasn't just knocked down. It was a symbol ceremony. So that's what this particular episode was about. And I mentioned it was the commune to spiritually reinstate King Mahlon to the throne of the ancients of Mitsrayim from Sabna. Okay? And with his humbleness, I described King Mahlon nodded and was gratitude for the responsibility and restating that he is back on the game. He is all back on it. So Nagar was there on behalf of Enlil, right? Those are the two brothers that I mentioned in my book, right? And he also brought his mother and father. I don't really talk about them much, but King Mahlon's mother and father was there. So it was a ceremony part, and where Nagar spoke first in Summerman, and he made some statements forcing King Mahlon's statute and position of this. So it was a very great episode. I described a lot of it, mostly, and what was going on and how everybody was on board to that, to the commune. So definitely check that out. It was a very popular episode, and this happened in Mitsrayim at the 7th level. I described a higher mid-level, in a sense, in the one of the ancient pyramids. It was inside there. So you have all that matrix going on, right? And then I did a clip snippet at the end where I talked about more, and that's to get that you have to become a Patriot member. And towards the end I talked about Tahib and Ezra along with the Mitsrayim of Thea assisted in the adorned symbol on King Mahlon's shoulders. So I go more into it, and I talk about the Enuma Elish and how that was used. It was read a page from that going forward as they continued the ceremony. All right, only a few were selected to be present in all of this. Okay, all right, so overall, I think that was a great episode as well. This episode 38, to kind of give you the formality of royalty and the formality on the spiritual higher level of why Mitsrayim, ancient Egypt, was one of those sacred places here, what we call Tamat, of being moving forward as the king of that domain. All right, thank you so much for joining me today with my director clip notes 37 and 38, and I hope you have a wonderful time, and don't forget to, if you like it, share it. Thank you.